I have great memories growing up, lots of laughing. I want to say the biggest thing that I remember growing up is camping. I loved going camping.
Our girls were happy, no problems. They were the best friends, and they'd team up on her mother and I sometimes, and just to be ornery.
As a mom, I just love my kids, and my background is, you know, I'm from such a big family, and 7 sisters and 1 brother, those big siblings. I loved the family.
We were all pretty close. I don't believe there were huge blowouts. I remember laughing a lot as a child, even growing up and being close with my sister and having a good relationship. All 4 of us did a lot of things together until I went away for the military.
She left for the service, and many days I couldn't sleep. And first letter that she sent it to me, she said, "Mom, I'm fine, I'm good." I hold that letter and I cried whole time.
After the military, I decided that I was going to go into law enforcement. I started as a civilian at Arvada Police Department. I then decided I needed to be more active in law enforcement, and I went to the academy. In the academy, I met Paul. He was one of my instructors. One day, I decided to meet with him for coffee to turn in some of my homework that I was assigned to become a patrol deputy. And we began to talk. And during that conversation, we realized we had a connection that went back to when I was about 5 years old. We were both at a point in our lives where we decided that maybe because of this connection in the past that we should start dating. We were dating about 6 months before we decided to get married.
She married a very type A personality person, and seemed like the guy was pretty put together and a good guy, but it wasn't too long after that, and we realized he was pretty controlling, and started to put some fences up that Song and I didn't really like.
I told my husband, I said, I really don't like it how he treats my Ginger. And Fred don't say anything. And then I said, you know, Ginger just do whatever he said so.
He would put them down or tell me things that were not true, that I thought were true. He would tell me, I had a conversation with your mother, and this is how she feels about you.
Finally, he just took her away from us completely, and more or less said, you're not going to go see your mom and dad anymore, and we weren't welcome there, and she couldn't come over here, and we lost her, and we didn't see her for over 10 years.
I believe the lies, everything that he said. I was too ignorant to reach out to my family, because if I did reach out to my family, whether in phone call, in person, it would result in a fight between he and I. My mom would reach out a lot to me. I knew that she prayed for me. She texted me, she'd call me. I wouldn't answer the phone calls. I just knew that if I did that, it would cost my mental health and my marriage. It wasn't worth it. Paul and I had some issues during the last few years. They were triggered by other relationships that we had with the kids or with his ex-wife. We did have some turmoil. It was December 22nd last year that he told me that he wanted to leave me. That was a really hard day. We had been married for 11 years at that time, and I feel like I just thought my whole world was over with, because I tried over and over to try and make it work.
I did see Song constantly praying for Ginger, constantly reaching out to Ginger, and I was very glad that she was doing that because I couldn't do it. I honestly couldn't do it. During that time, I wasn't as very connected with God. I felt sort of abandoned. I lost my daughter, and I was a little angry and disappointed, and I really didn't know how to handle that abandonment. We had gone to several different churches and tried to plug in, and I never found a spot that I felt comfortable. The song kept coming back to grace, and finally we went back for the last time, and we're home.
I am happy he's serving the church, and I church hopping for him for many different churches. Finally, I told him, and I said, hey, I'm going back to Grace. Either you come or not. And he came, and then he's serving, and I'm so happy.
It was after I was at Grace and serving in security. And I'd gone back to get Rick at the back door. And Rick asked me, how's your family doing, Fred? And I told him that we hadn't seen Ginger for quite some time, and that there was a big rift and a problem. And he just put his arm around me and said, let's pray right now, brother. And he did. And that was kind of, for me, an opening that there could be some hope here.
My dad had reached out to Pastor Rick, and I received a phone call, and I wasn't sure who it was, but I answered it because I had so many people calling that morning. And I hadn't talked to Pastor Rick for decades. It was a voice from the past that was very soothing and very helpful. And I just had so many questions at that point, and I didn't even know what to think that day. And I don't know what he was doing, but he took the time and just allowed me to talk. And he reassured me of God's love. He reassured me that there's a reason that this happened, and that I needed to stay strong. It was a few weeks after starting back at Grace that I finally realized everything in my life has happened for God's purpose.
Last Christmas was a hard time for our family. The song still reaching out for Ginger, and for the most part that never went anywhere. My wife's dad was very ill. Ginger started coming to visit. My
mom would reach out a lot to me. I knew that she prayed for me. She texted me, she'd call me. Again, I didn't reach back out to her. My grandfather, my mom's dad, was in the hospital, and I did have a good relationship with my grandpa. So because I knew that he was in hospice care, he didn't have a lot of time left. We didn't know how long. I felt like I needed to go see him, and I did that weekly. During one of my visits, I believe it was on a weekend, I ran into both my dad and my mom at the hospice care.
I would just get mad at her. I thought I would just, you know, you have a two choice, whether, okay, you're mad because you've been gone so long and you left us. But then when I saw her, I just like, okay, the prodigal son. I hold her and I said, Ginger, I didn't miss you.
I felt like somebody was behind me and just pushed me up. And I ran towards my dad, and he just opened his arms towards me. And the only thing that I could say at that point was, I'm sorry. And he just held me for probably 10-15 minutes, and he said, it's okay, you're safe, you're okay.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and
good time, and I felt a closeness that God was there for us and for her. So I'd encourage you, if you're hurting at this season, to just lean on God, because God understands separation. He lost his son for a period of time.
This Christmas is going to be super exciting for me just because I haven't been able to spend it with my mom and my dad and my sister for years.
I am so looking forward to the Christmas day that we can, you know, be together and have a breakfast together. And I am so happy this Christmas. And, Lord, I'm just happy.
This is going to be the first of many more to come, and I'm very excited for that.
We lost her, and we got her back, and even though I couldn't see it at the time, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. God's with you whether you know it or not, and we couldn't be happier.